This video is the first of two to cover seat post noise problems on the Trek Domane third generation, specifically the SL6 model. This video covers cracking, popping noises that come from this ISO-speed coupling on the seat post of the bicycle. What you have here is a seat post that goes through the frame but is only loosely connected to the rest of the frame through a nut and bolt arrangement that goes sideways through the frame and goes through a hole in the seat post. The hole in the seat post is a little bit larger than it needs to be for the bolt going through it, providing a little bit of motion between the seat post and the rest of the bike. If this area is lacking grease, you start to get the noise coming from the metal bolt rubbing against the metal inside the hole in the seat post. The nut and bolt are covered by this cover that you'll find on the drive and non-drive side of the frame. So you have to remove this cover to do this procedure. Note that in this picture there's a chunk of paint missing off of the top of where the cover goes on the frame. This is what happens if you attempt to remove this cover with something hard like a screwdriver. I'll show you how to get this cover off without damaging your bike. The cover has a round ring on the underside that snaps onto the nut or the bolt. So in order to avoid damaging it, it makes sense to engage it from the narrow end of the cover rather than trying to pry it off where it's attached to the nut or bolt. A fingernail under the pointy end of the cover works just fine. On one side, you will see this black bolt head. Note the torque spec on it, 8 Newton meters. This bolt takes a 6mm Allen wrench. Shown here, it's on the non-drive side of my bicycle, but in Trek documentation that I will reference at the end of this video, it is shown on the drive side. Perhaps it got switched to the non-drive side when my bicycle was in the bike shop shortly after I bought it to have a problem with this ISO-speed coupler remedied. On the opposite side, you'll find the nut, this red metal item. It takes an 8mm Allen wrench. Prepare to remove the bolt by placing the 8mm Allen wrench in the nut and a 6mm Allen wrench in the bolt. While holding the nut steady with the 8mm wrench, loosen and remove the bolt with the 6mm wrench. Here's the just removed bolt. You see there's grease on most of it, but note the shiny spots right here where the bolt has been rubbing against the seat post and the squeaking is probably happening. Lubricate all parts of the bolt with grease except the threads and except the bolt head. Reinstall the bolt using the 6mm hex wrench. A word of caution here. The bolt should thread back into the nut very easily. If you feel it binding or you think it needs more torque, stop. You can easily strip the nut and the bolt and have to replace them. Sometimes the nut can move while you're removing the bolt, and you'll have to be very careful about realigning the nut with the bolt and getting them to thread together properly and easily. Next, torque the bolt to 8 Newton meters. Finally, reinstall both covers. They should attach with a soft click.